The city of Seattle has decided that landlords can no longer charge more than $10 a month for late fees, and the result will be that more tenants are paying their rent late. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the whole late fee issue up in the city of Seattle. Now, I haven't covered a story about Seattle in a while, and I actually miss talking about it because it is one of the worst case scenarios for property rights and for landlord rights. Okay, it is absolutely horrible, and every other month it seems like they're coming up with a new proposal, a new way that they can punish landlords just for the crime of providing housing to people. Okay. And this is the latest cause that they've gone after. Now they've decided that, hey, the late fees that landlords are charging, they're too much. They're too much. They're putting a lot of debt onto tenants, and it's just not fair. It's not fair. Well, it's not fair that the landlord isn't paid the rent that they are owed on time. That's my personal opinion. And it is a complete joke that they're limiting how much we can charge for late fees to $10 a month. Now, how is that going to discourage anybody from paying late? It's not. It's not going to discourage anyone from paying late. The reason that we have those late fees isn't because we're trying to collect extra money. We don't make a whole lot of money off of late fees. No, we're doing that to discourage people from paying late. We want to discourage people from every single month just dragging their feet, and the good way to do that is by saying, hey, we're going to attach these fees onto your bill if you're late. Okay. Now, with all the eviction protections, etc., in the city of Seattle, you know what? You can't even remove these people, even if they do have these, these debts caused by late fees anyway. So, this legislation to me, it just seems like it's such a waste, such a waste. There's going to be a lot of landlords who just say, you know what? It isn't even worth it for me to collect $10 in late fees. I'm just not going to charge late fees anymore. Or there's going to be landlords who are just like, you know what? I'm done. You know what? This is you're nickel and diming me to death. All of the extra costs associated, all of the difficulty, evicting and removing bad tenants, and you've made it so that it just isn't worth it to me to be a landlord. Okay? And I don't blame them. I wouldn't even invest there if I knew the city well and I had plenty of money to buy those overly priced properties up there. I still wouldn't do it. Okay. I would find myself somewhere where landlords are given their full property rights. Okay. And that might be in a different state, because even the places outside of the city of Seattle and the rest of the state of Washington, they're starting to fall into the same problems that they are facing in Seattle. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. How much do you charge for late fees for your tenants? I charge $50. Okay. That's here in Omaha, Nebraska. That's how much my late fees are. You pay your rent late, $50. Okay. It's pretty simple. And guess what? I get paid my rent on time 95% of the time. Okay. And they don't like paying those late fees. If you're a good tenant and you are late like one time, I'll even forgive it. But if I am consistently getting your rent check late, guess what? You're going to get that late fee every single time. Okay. I can't be, it just isn't good. It isn't good at all. And you need to make sure that you pay on time. I have bills I have to pay on time. You think the bank is going to let me pay my mortgage payment late? No, they're not. They're not. They will take that property. They'll put me into foreclosure just like that. Okay. Oh, man. So, anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from knkx.org, and it says Seattle City Council approves cap for late rent fees at $10 per month. Oh, man. Let's see what this article says about the whole situation. In a vote of 7-2, Seattle City Council passed a bill Tuesday that will limit fees for paying rent late to $10 a month. The new legislation now heads to the mayor for signature. Last month, Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant introduced legislation that would cap late rent fees at $10 per month. Other council members proposed a late fee cap of $50 or 1.5% of the monthly rent, whichever is less. And keep in mind, right, the rents in Seattle, they're much, much higher than in other places. So imagine, okay, you have a tenant and this person is paying, let's say, $3,500 a month. Well, why are you capping the late rent fee on a $3,500 a month place at $10? Okay, you think that person can't afford it? No, they can afford it. Simply put, this should be targeted towards lower income people, but it what they don't even think like that. I don't believe it should be in place at all. I think the landlord and the tenant, if they come to an agreement when they fill out the contract and the tenant agrees that they'll pay that late fee, well, then they should pay it. They don't need the government stepping in. See, once again, we have the government becoming a middleman between the landlord and the tenant. And I just absolutely cannot stand that. Okay. Let us operate our businesses as we see fit. This isn't some sort of monopoly where there's only five landlords and they are controlling the market and they're forcing the tenant into these contracts. No, there are literally thousands of landlords out there who are providing housing, and some landlords they charge one late fee, some landlords charge another late fee, some don't charge any late fees at all. But it should be up to us, okay, to operate how we operate our business. And that is my huge problem with so much of this anti-landlord legislation that they pass. The vote on Tuesday considered whether the cap the oh I'm sorry yeah Sawant said she and others received hundreds of emails in response to the proposal. Some tenants say they've been charged as much as $500 for being a few days late on rent. A 2018 study by the King County Bar Association and Seattle Women's Commission notes that more than half of those who faced eviction owed 1 month or less on rent. At a recent city council meeting, Seattle City Council member Andrew Lewis voiced his support for a 1.5% late rent fee. He considered the sliding scale percentage a better policy, in part because he didn't want the city to have to revisit a set dollar amount. Well, they're going to have to do that because it's very likely that the mayor is going to approve this. Okay, the mayor is a progressive, a leftist, and probably a socialist as well, and anti-property rights, anti-landlord. All of the city council is. I mean, there might be one or two people on the city council who aren't 100% socialist, but you know what? They are in the minority, and more legislation like this has passed in the last couple of years that I've covered in videos than I even remember talking about. Okay, I mean they've just proposed ridiculous insanity up there, and it just gets worse and worse. They'll probably eventually get to the point where they just say, well, landlords can't charge a late fee at all. Okay, that's what I imagine, and that's what they're going to go to. This is just the precursor to that. Okay, they're saying, okay, well, right now we have landlords charging up whatever they want. Well, we're going to take away their ability to charge more than $10 a month for late fees, and then a couple of years from now we'll revisit it and make it zero. And they'll also take away, like they want to cap all fees that landlords charge. That is something that I've been reading a lot about lately, how they think that landlords are charging predatory fees. Well, you know what? Whenever we find ourselves burdened by, ridiculousness of things that tenants do, well, we want to discourage those things. And by charging fees, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to discourage bad behavior by tenants. And bad behavior is paying your bills late. Now, notice that when you pay your, credit card bill late, they hit you with a late fee. I mean, everyone knows this. Everyone knows when you pay your credit card bill late, they hit you with a late fee. When you pay your car payment late, they hit you with a late fee. Everywhere charges late fees, but only the landlord is getting picked on in this situation. The landlord gets punished. Well, here's the way I see it, right? Landlords should be able to hit your credit for paying late. Okay, how would you like that? If we all of a sudden are saying, "Hey, this tenant paid late," and we hit their credit with that. Okay, maybe that's the sort of legislation that we should pass now. That I mean, I don't even know if we need legislation, but that's another story. If we can't charge late fees, then maybe we should be hitting their credit. At a recent city council meeting, Seattle City Council member Andrew Lewis I'm sorry, I think I already read that. However, during Tuesday's council meeting, which included a public comment period, Lewis appeared to change his mind and ultimately voted to approve the $10 per month cap. One resident who helps hold vigils for homeless people who have died voiced her opposition to the higher cap at a previous council meeting. There is a direct correlation between the names of evicted people and the names of the homeless on the death list. You can save lives, she told council members. Yeah, well, let me see the death list. Let me see the death list. I want to pull out their names and run them through the eviction records. Okay, that's the truth, because I bet you're just full of crap. You're just saying, you're pulling stuff out of your butt and you have no proof that any of that is true. Okay, like I've said, I've mentioned this before, because the city of New York actually did a study on people up in the homeless shelters, and guess what they found? That 95% of people in homeless shelters, they were not there because of eviction. 95%. Only 5% of the people in the homeless shelters were there because of eviction. Now, if you're talking about people who are out actually on the streets, the number is even less. The people who are out on the streets are there because of substance abuse issues and mental health issues in most cases. They're not there because they were evicted. That is a joke. Or they were evicted because of their substance abuse issues and their mental health issues, and now they're on the streets. So, yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. I feel really bad for the landlords up in Seattle, the ones who have decided for some reason not to quit yet. And you know what? My belief still is that if you're in one of these places that they hate landlords so much, get out of business. Get out of the business. Sell your properties in Seattle, sell your properties in Los Angeles, New York, whatever, right? And look for somewhere where you can invest long distance if you want to still live in that place, but look for somewhere you can invest where they are going to treat you right, where you can remove bad tenants, where you can do what you want with your property and with your landlord business.